I want to tell you a little bit about why I do what I do. When I was 17, I enlisted in the Connecticut National Guard. Not because it was a great paying job, not because I had a bunch of other options, but because I wanted to do something that mattered. And I spent years in Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan. I went to West Point. I served in the State Department. I ran for office. None of that was about a paycheck. It was all about contribution, about being a part of something bigger than myself, and knowing that the work I did every day actually meant something. And I think most Americans or millions of Americans feel exactly the same way, which is why I have a problem with the idea that universal basic income is the answer to AI displacing millions of workers. Not because I don't think that people deserve support, but because I think people deserve more than just a check. UBI treats the symptoms. It doesn't fix the underlying disease that we have in our economic system today. And today I want to talk a little bit about a couple ideas of what we could actually do. Something that would be a bit more fair and lead to a more fair deal for America. First, let me be honest about UBI. The idea itself isn't crazy. If your job disappears overnight and your monthly bills are still due, having some sort of income that just automatically appears isn't a bad idea. And I'm not dismissing that. And there are serious, thoughtful people making the argument that some sort of universal basic income can provide enough of a safety net to allow people to take more risks, find what they really want to do, take care of their families. And I'm not dismissing any of that. I kind of understand their entire argument, actually. But here's the problem I see. UBI is designed around one fundamental assumption, that all people need out of work is a paycheck or some sort of income. And the evidence that I'm looking at says that that's only half the story. So let me start where this all actually started. From 1948, right after World War II, to the beginning of the 1980s, worker pay and productivity grew at basically the same rate. When American workers produced more, American workers got paid more. And that's how it's supposed to work. And that's how it did work for an entire generation. Then something changed. From 1973 to 2014, productivity in this country grew over 70%. Yet worker compensation grew only about 9%. That's a 63 percentage point gap. And this didn't happen by accident. It happened because of very specific policy choices that happened in the 1980s. Choices to deregulate business, to really put a limit on the minimum wage, to crack down on the ability of workers to organize in unions. And it's all guided by a government philosophy that says corporations should come first. So here's the question I keep asking. If the problem is that workers haven't been receiving the benefits of what they've been producing, why is the solution that we give up on the idea entirely? UBI doesn't reward anyone for connecting a worker's productivity with their pay. It actually rewards the separation and just recognizes that disconnect is going to exist for all of time. It says, fine, you don't get to share in what we produce, so here's a check instead. And that's not a fair deal. That's a consolation prize. And then there's the part that no one in Silicon Valley wants to spend much time thinking about. Gallup surveyed thousands of people in 2025, and what they found is that American workers who find purpose in their work are 5.6 times more engaged in that work. And Pew Research did a poll, and what they found is about 56% of workers that they survey are in their jobs both for income, sure, but also because they want to be there. People don't just need income. They need to contribute. They need to feel like what they're doing matters. And they need to have something in their work life that gives them the dignity of saying that the time spent here is something that matters to other people as well. I know this from my own life. The best work I've ever done wasn't the best paid. It was work I was doing and I knew why it mattered to other folks. And a check from the government doesn't give you that. A check can certainly keep you alive. It cannot give you the reason to get up in the morning. So what could actually work? Here are just 4 ideas that are grounded in research, not just false promises. And I'm calling this the beginning of a framework that I'm building called the Fair Deal for America. Proposal 1, let's reconnect a worker's productivity to their wages. It worked from the 1940s through to the 1980s. It could work again. The mechanism was relatively simple. It rewarded unions. It rewarded the idea that government philosophy should be about workers being connected to the benefits of what they produce. And in this AI era that we're all living in, if a worker is producing more because they're figuring out how to leverage AI to make themselves more productive, then they should get paid more. Not just a company, not just the shareholders at the end of the day, but the workers themselves, you and me. That's not radical. That's just how it all used to work. The second proposal, tax whatever AI extracts. Bill Gates actually proposed this in 2017. If a company replaces a worker with automation, Then you, as a government, tax that automation just like you would tax a worker. That money can then be used to fund the transition for the actual human worker. It can fund job training. It can fund community investments. It can fund the retraining opportunities that millions of Americans are going to need. And OpenAI, the leading AI research organization we have in the country that released ChatGPT, published a policy roadmap this week that also says that we need to move the tax burden from workers to capital. And the idea is relatively simple. Focus taxation on corporate profits and capital gains. That's where the value of AI is getting extracted to. So that's where we need to start taxing from. Proposal 3, a national AI wealth fund. Think of this as the Alaska model. You see, in Alaska, the oil companies pay the state government, and the state government pays every resident in Alaska some dividend check from having that industry in their backyard. It's an extractive industry. It's an industry that isn't great for the environment, but they all get to benefit and put that money to work to keep their local communities alive. And it's a system that has worked well for Alaska. It can work well for the entire country with AI. And what this fundamentally does is that it treats AI as a national resource, something that we all get to contribute to and benefit from. And oh, by the way, all this technology that is changing our daily work environments was made possible because of the publicly funded research that underlies it all. Citizens should have a stake in the benefits that it produces. That OpenAI policy blueprint I was talking about in the previous solution, this is their actual model for what they're recommending. And the difference between universal basic income and what we're talking about right now is basically who gets to own part of it. And so you're not receiving money as a handout, you're receiving money because we're all part owners in this technology. And here's a fourth proposal to consider. Have the government act as a massive employer and put people to work doing things that AI can or won't. Over 8 years, the New Deal put 8.5 million workers to work building schools, roads, hospitals, infrastructure that we still benefit from to this day. And one woman whose husband was working for these New Deal programs is quoted to say, "We aren't on relief anymore. My husband's working for the government." And there's dignity that comes along with that. He wasn't receiving anymore, he was contributing. And in today's economy, we can go past just building bridges and buildings and roads, although those all need maintaining, and we should definitely keep doing that. But it also is a care economy. We have an aging population. They're going to need to be taken care of. Healthcare, home care, mental health professionals, rural broadband infrastructure, climate projects. There's a whole bunch of projects that private business isn't all that great at. We can use tax dollars from the AI benefits in a couple different models to pay for humans doing this work that only humans can do, and turn a whole bunch of people that would just be receivers of universal basic income and make them contributors into a larger movement to build a better future for everyone. And here's what I want you to take away from this. The next time someone tells you AI is going to be wonderful because we can all receive universal basic income and AI is just going to hand us all a check, you have a real answer. 4 specific proposals that could work and should be debated. You even know what to call it, a fair deal for America. But here's the thing. Don't wait for someone to ask you the question. Bring it up at the dinner table, on a coffee break, more importantly, in comment sections on social media. The conversation about what needs to be built next for what is going to help the vast majority of us, frankly, doesn't start in Washington. It starts with each and every one of us. And that means it starts with us all talking about it. And one way you can do that is simply by sharing this video with someone who needs to hear this message. And if you want to know how to make politicians actually respond to ideas like this, well, we have some videos coming that are going to be explicitly about that. I'm Chris Rivers. This is Reimagining America. Drop a comment. Which of these proposals do you think makes the most sense? Let's really build this out together. If you haven't yet, please click like on this video, drop a comment below, and click that subscribe button. It'll help the YouTube algorithm make sure that these videos are getting into your feed. Thank you.